The Amazing Spider-Man, number 58, written by Zeb Wells, pencils by John Romita Jr., maybe half pencils because some of this stuff seems very undone. And we talk about it a lot. Me and you are John Romita Jr. fans. I think that this script is being written and then shoved off to the deal. You said that there was a point where John Romita Jr. even mentioned there was a script that they ended up saying, just draw a big fight scene and then we'll deal with it.
I think that's what this issue and possibly next issue.
You can kind of tell that there's nothing to this. Inks by Scott Hanna, colors by Marcelo Menez, VC's Joe Caramagno, letters. And the last issue, I'll tell you, wasn't that much of anything. You ended up having Tombstone doing the switcheroony where they thought that he was reacting and trying to get Janice and Robbie, who were getting taken out of the city. In the meantime, they had set up a dupe that it was actually She-Hulk. Then you get Digger, who is, kind of getting the subway tracks and shooting the subway. And it was a mess. It was a complete mess. Then we get to this issue. This issue, legitimately, you could read in 2 minutes. There is nothing going on at all. And it just shows you that at the end of Zeb Wells' run, he was supposed to be off the book by now. They asked him to, stick around for a little, maybe get Joe Kelly, up to whatever. You got to have something, though. You can't have one of the biggest books in comics just be this much of a nothing book. This is a nothing book, and it's getting me mad already. You end up Janice, who ends up coming face to face with her dad, Tombstone, Lincoln, and he's going to shoot her right in the face. And she says, "You don't want to do this." He says, "Yes, I do." And he starts open firing. One of the things that Tombstone is not is a good shot. I mean, is he a stormtrooper or what?
19 shots I'm counting here.
19 shots from dead, point blank range. You could tell me that he doesn't want to kill her, but then why even fire the shots? I mean, he is awful. He is the worst shot. He's shooting beds. He's shooting desks and lamps and doors. Not Janice, though. And she dives away, and she's like, "Oh, if you want that, well, I'm going to get my Beetle costume on." I'm like, really? Get out the window. Just you're not going to be able to defeat him by just fighting. And luckily for her, Spider-Man shows up because we go back to the scene of that nonsense subway car coming up through the street, and everybody's kind of gathering their thoughts. White Rabbit's like, "Oh my God, we got to get to Janice. Tombstone has to be there. She-Hulk wants to go." They all, "Hey, we'll go with Spider-Man." He's already gone. And that's the kind of the play here is, where's Spider-Man? Oh, he's gone. When did that happen? Oh, well, I guess we'll never know. But Janice ends up having her gadget. I love the idea, too. She ends up having like a flamethrower gadget type thing that hits the hand and the gun out of Tombstone's hand. And then he goes, "I've got gadgets, too," and throws a grenade. I don't consider a grenade a gadget.
Like a flash grenade or something, EMP?
I don't consider that a gadget. I don't know why, but I don't. And so he ends up doing that, and she's yelling, I'm your daughter, you psycho beep, this and that." She's going to try to strangle him. He's going to choke her out, and he actually is watching the life leave her eyes.
I do like how he grabbed her arm and just choking her with the other arm.
And he slams her on the ground. He's choking her out. And then, thank God, what happens then is Spider-Man crashes through the window so hard that it skews up the vantage point and the whole art that seems really stretched at this point beyond what was actually drawn. It looks like you ended up getting a square deal and made it landscape.
It's the aspect ratio.
Right? The aspect ratio is completely off here. And I think that maybe they needed like an extra page, and let's stretch this one out because it's way off as he yells, "Get off her, stop it." These are the big, to-do of the script here. And we do think, again, that it's like the Marvel method where you end up having John Romita Jr. draw this fight scene, sends it back to Zeb Wells, and Zeb Wells can't do anything. So he writes, "Get off, stop it," and nothing.
Wouldn't it have been better than just to have no dialogue then? Just
this could have been stuff? Like a silent issue. And maybe it would have been
more
better.
Happy with that, I think.
Yeah, and in that, maybe don't even have Spider-Man show up, or maybe the gadget he has ends up making like a silent pocket. I don't know, but this deal of, "Hey, what are you going to do there, Spider-Man? Whatever it takes. Janice, go. Huh? He, who?" And then they end up where at points you have Tombstone grab Janice's ankle. I didn't understand. I thought he was ripping something off, but he's picking off a shard of something to then hit Spidey and drop. I don't know. Janice falls out the window.
He grabs her foot, and then he tries to grab something else, and it breaks, I think, and then she flies
it looked
out.
like he was going to use that other bit for a weapon, but it
I thought
breaks.
he was going to stab Spider-Man with
Yeah,
it.
so did I. And then Spidey looks out. Janice is falling. She looks like she falls right on her head.
Head first, she's dead.
Head first, but yet somehow she hurt her shoulder. And yeah, she should be dead. Then Tombstone jumps out the window. He lands on this. They're running. And now the arc gets even worse because they run into another building. She goes past security. I love these security guys who just yell, hey, stop, and don't even move.
And this other guy in a business suit.
Oh, yeah, this guy in the business suit gets, like, yanked because he's like, hey, because she says, get out of my way. He's like, hey, get out of my way, bitch. And he
basically
gets just thrown. And it's great, too, because he gets thrown. And this is where I actually told you where I thought the art really started getting wonky. When this guy gets thrown and Spider-Man shows up, it's like the most non-defined Spider-Man ever. He says, go limp. He's like, hey, I can't help it. I'm excited. You end up where they're running through this business apartment building. I don't even know what it is. And Janice is running up through doors and windows and whatever. And Lincoln, he's chasing and he grabs her again. And so we now are almost done the issue where they were at her apartment, which again, the stupidest thing ever. Hey, we think that Tombstone is going to go after his daughter, Janice. So we're going to set up this big dupe. I mean, this really crazy scenario. But in the meantime, let Janice just stay at her apartment. Well, why didn't they move her to another apartment? That would have solved everything. That would have been it.
Yeah,
but you end up, remember, they said they had moles.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, freaking Tombstone then grabs Janice by the back of her hair. Spidey comes in to wrestle him away. And then Janice, with these gloves on that I wouldn't think would make these marks. I mean,
it would not. Those are like, like the Prowler has gloves like that. She doesn't.
Motocross gloves.
These are regular gloves.
Yeah, and she's like clawing into the point where she's like making these gouges.
He's permanently scarred.
Oh my God. And, that'll be great. But yeah, and he's yelling, he's bleeding all over the place. The blood seems ridiculous. And you end up where Tombstone then is like, trying to flail around. He's like, Janice, and then Spider-Man goes, nope.
That was me.
You got me. Ow.
He was beating Spider-Man back.
He was beating Spider-Man. But if you're Spider-Man, don't say anything.
I know. There's no need for any dialogue.
Why are you saying anything? That make him think that he's hitting Janice, maybe. But, and she's like, get off me. He's like, you're welcome. Oh, my goodness. And, he says to Janice, again, get out of here. And then you end up having Spider-Man say to Tombstone, we need to talk. Tombstone just has blood just spurting everywhere. And he says, do you know what you're doing? You can't come back from this, Lonnie. No crap.
Who knows?
What is Tombstone? What is he? Tombstone, what is he, a hero?
Yeah, we're not redeeming him.
He's
over past that point.
Yeah. I mean, at the point of gang war, he caved in Janice's mask and we thought she was dead. This isn't a new thing for him. Even at one point, she yells, I'm your daughter. And he goes, no, your state's evidence. I'm going to kill you. That's what he is. And says, I wish you didn't have to see me like this or whatever. She's seen you like this. But you end up where now Peter says, do you know what you're doing? You can't come back from that. Do you hear me? And then just starts pretty much beating up a blind Tombstone. Then Tombstone gets upset. And then, let's even get even worse. At the very end, you want to get crazy. So now we're even playing Batman, 89. So you have this nonsense, and it looks like, they're crashing out the window. Let's get crazy.
I did think it was, I've never seen this before where they go, oh no, you want to get crazy? And then on the cover of next issue, it says, let's get crazy.
And boy, that cover, I mean, most people, will people think those are webs, or will they realize it's like
that safety glass, I guess. I don't know.
It's bad. This issue sucks. There's nothing to it. We're coming to an end of a shit-ass run, and you can't even, you had a lot of things that you could have dealt with in these last bunch of issues. They asked you to stay. You have so many loose ends, and I'm talking about that jerk-off Paul. Paul should be underneath that window, and somehow Lonnie and Spider-Man splat on him, take it up, and then a safe falls on him, and then a grand piano.
And nobody even talks about it. No funeral for him or anything. It's just over.
Nobody even knows he's there.
Nope.
He's just squished underneath. People are upset more about the piano. So
you see Mary Jane smiling.
Yeah, really. He's like, oh, finally, free at last. You end up where You could have dealt with that. You could have dealt with a bunch of things. Obviously, people like the Tombstone stuff. But if you're going to deal with it, have a story. There's no story here. This is bullcrap. And the art is bad. It is unfinished because I think they're rushing because they didn't realize they were going to have to do it. But that's where, in my mind, that's where you show your worth. If you end up, hey, we need 5 more issues from you. We know that you weren't ready for it or whatever. Can you give it to us? You see this guy has nothing. Zeb Wells has nothing except a stupid haircut is what he has. That's what I think. I saw the picture of him again. He has a very slappable face. I'm not saying I'd slap it. I don't want to do that.
Yeah, maybe.
He has a slappable face is what he has, and he thinks he's a funny guy, and then when you have to do actual action, he has nothing at all. This is bullshit. What would you give it?
I just wanted to say I really like the cover to this issue. I think that
that looks good.
All the time was spent on that. I'd just give it I'd give it a 5.5.
I'm giving it a 3, and I think that the John Romita Jr. cover, which is pretty good, it's so nondescript. He probably had this already.
It's so generic. Yeah, it's just like a poster kind of thing. This one's generic as hell, and then the next issue is not generic at all. Super specific.
And that looks like crap.
Whatever the art was, they just made it into a cover. I don't think it was actually supposed to be.
And by the way, too, we didn't talk about it, but last week, or last issue, 2 weeks ago, Niccolo, there was a letter in the letters section where a guy actually said, hey, why are you doing this bullshit? Basically called them out and said, you guys are doing bullcrap. Why aren't you giving us what we want? And by the way, Ultimate Spider-Man, which we'll be doing next, but they're giving us what we want. And there's millions of fans that you're, going against, whatnot. Niccolo, like a prick, ends up like, well, it's just you talking, not tons of, like a jerk. So he's a jerk, too. I don't like that guy.
He's too positive about everything. There's nothing. Some of the stuff's not positive.
Face.
Yeah,
is what he is. There you go. But
his voice is annoying too.